Chapter 24. Regrouping. For the first time in months, Sam Crawford awakened to feeling that, even as bad as things were getting better. It was still early in the morning, but the wound he had suffered at the battle at Squire's farm on day one often acted much like an alarm clock, but instead of bells, it woke him with pain. Once the pain had set in, the only thing that could be done was stretch it out. Stretching that often went on for a half hour. But by now, Sam had figured out that if he didn't, the pain would be there until he did. Raising his arm up to the ceiling, back down to the floor, side to side, and sometimes in a windmill pattern, Sam walked around the hotel room he and many of the others had been provided with. Though there wasn't any electricity, and the only light that could be seen outside either came from the moon or the few cars that were out, Sam still enjoyed staring out the window to the city. Though in his mind it wasn't Kansas City he was looking out over, but rather his last memory of the light at night sparkling throughout Dallas. The minutes passed without any real measurement. All Sam knew was that the pain in his arm was about gone, and it was still dark. Running through the stretches for his arm one last time to ensure it had been properly stretched, he heard a knock at the door, but he had already begun walking to see what they wanted. In a world with no light, the man with a flashlight is a god, Sam thought, watching the light from whoever was on the other side pour into the room from all around the door, like the opening of a rock concert. "Yeah," Sam replied, reaching for the door handle and only then realizing he had not locked it the night before. "Sir, the General requests your presence," the voice responded. "Shit," Sam said lightly, quickly releasing the handle as he remembered he was not wearing any clothes. "What, sir?" the voice from the other side asked, a little concerned. "Nothing. Let me get dressed. I'll be right there." Sam turned and headed for his clothes lying on a chair in the corner. How the hell did I get so relaxed last night? Not like I'm home. He pondered the thought as he dressed and came to the conclusion that it was make-believe. He wanted to feel and believe that he was home. It did not take Sam long to dress and get back in touch with reality of the world around him as they drove down empty streets to the underground network. It was a reality that seemed more fiction than real at times, as he looked out the windows of a car made in the 1940s going to an underground facility. The drive only took minutes, but he tried to suck in every second, and as he did, one question kept coming to him as his eyes kept seeing small fires burning all over the neighborhoods. The fires had him confused as to their purpose, since it was warm out, so he felt he had to ask. "What is with all the fires?" he asked, hoping the driver would have an answer. "Shit, sir. Only a few of the sewer systems are operational, and in the areas they are not, the General set up a system for the waste to be burned," the driver answered. With his question answered, Sam lost all interest in continuing the discussion of burning shit, and was relieved to see they were at the facility gates, so the driver wouldn't have time to go more in depth on the subject. With the car parked in a long line of classic hot rods and jalopies, Sam walked across the parking lot to the entrance. The walk wasn't a long one, but it was a smelly one. He wished he would have never asked about what was burning, because now he knew just what he smelled. It was a smell that he felt following him through the door into the tunnel facility. Attempting to push the thought from his head was not a difficult thing to do as he made his way over to the control room. Even with only half the lights on, the place still looked immense. He could hear the roar of trucks moving deep within the facility and voices echoing from the far side. "Mr. Crawford, how are you this morning?" he made out one of the voices asking. Turning back in the direction he felt it had come from, he could see General Harwood walking his way. The man was so far away and yet sounded so close, he marveled at how great the acoustics were and felt like letting out a yodel-eye-hee-hoo. That was something that he was not going to do, but he put it on his bucket list. "Good morning, General," Sam said, greeting him as he neared. "Yes, it is, Mr. Crawford. Today we will see if your friends are in control, as you believe." Sam could hear the excitement in his voice. "Well, sir, they are a resourceful bunch, and from speaking with Commander Sawyer before the EMP, I am certain his men are in control of the city." The two men walked and talked as they made their way over to the lightly lit stairs leading up to the control room. Then we will move over to the... Harwood was cut short by a voice from the top of the stairs, a voice Sam recognized as the golf cart driver's the first day he arrived. "Halt! Who goes there?" the voice demanded. A little irritated that he had been interrupted, Harwood replied, "Superman." "Then fly your ass on up here," the guard replied. This was a challenge that Harwood had not expected, and he was now at a loss, unable to think of a reply through the sudden anger he felt at the lack of military discipline and procedure. Up the stairs, Harwood stomped, only to become more frustrated when he saw the guard and remembered that many of them were only recently brought into service, not regular army. He pushed on without even making eye contact with the soldier, with Sam only a few feet behind, trying to control his laughter. Entering the control room, Harwood was brought back to the army he was familiar with as someone shouted, "Attention!" and everyone stood straight with their arms down to their sides. "Carry on," Harwood ordered. Sam noticed instantly that the room held many more personnel than his last visit as orders were issued and received throughout the facility, all routing through this main control room. He could also tell by the way Harwood's voice sounded that he had already pushed past the experience with the guard just moments ago. "Battle Captain report," Harwood ordered. The two watched as a sergeant major made his way through the crowded control room until he was standing in front of Harwood. "Sir, everything is a go. The men are in the process of loading up the trucks, and the trucks from the Republic Army camp are en route," reported the sergeant major, who had apparently worked with the general for years and knew exactly what information he wanted to know. "Great work, Sergeant Major," Harwood replied, before turning back to Sam and giving him a slight wave of his hand to follow. After a short walk, the two entered the general's office. "Drink coffee, Mr. Crawford?" Harwood asked, making his way over to the freshly brewed pot sitting alongside bottles of cognac. "Sounds good, sir. Black, please," Sam said, eagerly anticipating a cup of coffee that had not been made over a campfire or from instant coffee. While pouring the coffee, Harwood got right to business. "Since we have spoken last, I have had our communications officer try to make contact with the depot in Jefferson City. They have been unsuccessful. It seems that we have lost a FEMA facility not far from there by tunnel," Harwood said as he handed Sam a cup of coffee. "Thanks, sir." Before saying anything else, Sam took a sip of the dark liquid and savored it before the warmth flowed down to his stomach. Once the moment had passed, he began, "Sir, I've been in one of those FEMA facilities, and if it is no longer there, then it could easily have been destroyed by those held captive inside, a town nearby, or a host of reasons other than the government of the East moving this way. Which is what I am assuming you are thinking." Harwood liked the way Sam's mind worked. "Yes, that is what I was thinking, and I do agree with you. When they began filling the facilities in this area, I quickly put a stop to it and had them dismantle the walls of fencing and barbed wire around them. Now they are used for public housing, just the way they were originally sold to the American people. Could you imagine if they would have told people they were going to build prisons to put them all in? Not even a brick would have been laid." Harwood had a little laugh at the thought. Sam took another drink of his coffee as he thought about how that scenario would have played out. "I agree, sir. Will the facility you are talking about prevent us from going straight to Jefferson City?" Walking around to take a seat at his desk, Harwood replied, "No. It is a short offshoot of the tunnels and can be bypassed." Sam stood staring at the general and wondered just why he had sent for him when those coming from the Republic Army camp were scheduled to stop. He figured it was a good time to find out. "General, just what did you want to see me about this morning if nothing has changed?" Looking down into his cup in deep thought, Harwood wasn't sure if he was making the right call or not, but it was time. "Sam, I want you to be the man out front on this. Normally I would, but if it is the UCM in control, we don't need a gunfight breaking out." Sam thought about what Harwood had said and then replied, "And if it's not the UCM?" With his most sincere expression on his face, Harwood said, "Then you will most likely be the first to die.